This morning, federal agents executed one of the largest judicial corruption raids in American history. 2 sitting judges.
4:52 a.m., North Miami, Florida. The mansion at the end of the private cul-de-sac should have been quiet. Instead, 20 federal tactical vehicles boxed in the iron gates. No sirens, no lights, no warning. The FBI had been watching this address for 6 years. What they found inside would expose the deadliest judicial corruption case in American history. 2 sitting judges, 1 underground dungeon, 60 missing children. Let me show you how a courthouse became a cartel headquarters. If you want the full truth about what happened, hit like now so this story reaches more people who need to know. The sprawling estate in Bay Point Estates looked like success. Judge Amina Hassan and Judge Ahmed Ali were power, respect, the American dream in human form. To the FBI tactical commanders crouched in the tree line, it was something else entirely. A fortress, a nerve center, a graveyard. For 6 years, federal intelligence had tracked a statistical impossibility. Over 614 criminal cases dismissed in their courtroom. Violent traffickers walked 3 hours after arrest. Drug seizures vanished from evidence log. Children reported missing in family court proceedings simply disappeared from all records. The pattern was surgical. Hassan presided over Miami-Dade District Court. Ali controlled South Miami Heights City Court. Together, they had jurisdiction over criminal cases, family matters, and immigration hearings across South Florida. They weren't enforcing the law, they were erasing it. Surveillance teams had documented armed guards rotating 12-hour shifts around the property. Military-grade motion sensors lined the perimeter. Cargo trucks arrived at 3 a.m. 3 times per week, always covered, always escorted. Witnesses whispered about screams from the basement. Local police investigated twice. Both times, the case files were sealed by judicial order within 48 hours. It took a multi-agency task force to build the case outside their reach. FBI, ICE, DEA, U.S. Marshals, Homeland Security investigations. Tonight, they were dismantling it. The order traveled across encrypted tactical channels at exactly 4:47 a.m. Condition read, execute. The lead armored carrier rammed the iron gates at 4:52 a.m. The metal screamed. Hinges tore from concrete pillars. The gates collapsed inward with broken teeth, but the mansion didn't surrender. It fought back. Automatic gunfire erupted from the second-floor balcony before the first agent cleared the driveway. Muzzle flashes lit up the darkness. Bullets hammered into armored plating. Tactical teams scattered, returning fire with precision. This wasn't panic. This was military discipline. The shooters were using suppressed rifles with night optics. Former African Special Forces soldiers paid in cash and immunity. Mercenaries who understood they were defending more than a building. They were defending an empire. Comment exposed below. If you believe no judge should be above the law. The firefight lasted 9 minutes and 38 seconds. FBI operators cleared the balcony with flashbangs and suppression rounds. ICE teams breached the eastern wing using hydraulic rams. Smoke grenades flooded the hallway. Inside, resistance was fierce. Mercenaries ambushed agents from stairwells. Bullets tore through luxury furniture. Crystal chandeliers shattered. Marble columns chipped under automatic fire. But federal force was overwhelming. By the time the guns fell silent, 11 mercenaries lay injured on the manicured grass. The rest were zip-tied face down in the driveway. Blood pooled on Italian tile floors. The mansion was secure. Agents moved through smoke-filled corridors, weapons raised, clearing room by room. The contrast was jarring. Gold leaf ceilings, mahogany paneling, original artwork worth millions. Downstairs was beauty, but the thermal scans showed something else. Underground, the mansion had a second face. In the main library, an agent noticed cold air coming from a bookcase that didn't sit flush with a wall. The thermal scanner revealed a void behind it, a staircase descending into darkness. When they forced the mechanism, the bookcase swung open like a bank vault. Concrete stairs led down into the earth. The air got colder each step. The smell of expensive perfume was replaced by chemicals and human waste. The staircase ended in a hallway. Steel doors on both sides, industrial lighting, ventilation systems humming. This wasn't a wine cellar. This was infrastructure. Agents cleared the first room. Steel racks stood floor to ceiling. Vacuum-sealed bricks filled every shelf. Heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamine. The initial estimate, 2,100 pounds. 1 ton of death. Next to the drugs were military rifles, suppressors, night vision equipment, bulletproof vests with police markings. The judges weren't just protecting criminals, they were arming them. If this shocks you, hit like right now. Agents pushed deeper into the underground complex. The second room was a document forgery lab, industrial printers, holographic film, stacks of blank passports from 7 different countries, birth certificates, social security cards. driver's licenses, visa stamps, all authentic look, all completely fake. The judges had been manufacturing new identities for high-value targets, erasing criminals from databases, creating ghost citizens who could move freely across borders. Files on the workbenches showed the scale. Over 1,400 false identities created in 3 years. Each one sold for between $15,000 and $50,000, depending on the document package. The math was staggering. At least $35 million in identity fraud alone. But it was the third door that stopped every agent cold. Heavy steel, locked from the outside with industrial bolts. No windows, no ventilation grates. Faint sounds came from within. Not aggression, not resistance, shuffling, quiet crying. The sound of children too scared to scream. An agent called out. No response. They cut the lock with a plasma torch. Sparks flew. The bolt gave way with a metallic groan. Tactical lights swept the room. 60 children sat on cold concrete. Some were 4 years old. Others were teenagers. Thin, barefoot, silent. They didn't run. They didn't scream. They just stared at the lights with hollow eyes. Too traumatized to understand rescue. The judges hadn't just built a drug empire. They had built a trafficking network for children. The very children they swore to protect in family court. Type yes below if you believe every child deserves justice. While medical teams rushed into the basement to treat the children, tactical operators moved upstairs. The mansion was secure, the mercenaries neutralized, but the primary targets were still barricaded in the master wing. Judge Ahmed Ali was found first. Agents breached his private study at 5:34 a.m. He was standing behind his desk, still wearing his embroidered judicial robe. The laptop in front of him showed encrypted ledgers cascading across the screen. He was trying to erase 6 years of evidence. When agents ordered him to step away, he didn't run. He raised his hands slowly. His voice was calm, practiced, the same voice he used in hundreds of courtrooms. I serve my community. You are making a mistake. The lead FBI operator slammed him against the bookshelf. Cuffs clicked around his wrists. The judicial robe was stripped off, revealing the terrified man underneath. Not anymore, the operator replied. Across the hall, Judge Amina Hassan had retreated into a reinforced panic room hidden behind the master bedroom closet. Agents could hear destruction inside, paper tearing, hard drives smashing, the flick of a lighter. She was burning evidence. Tactical operators deployed a hydraulic battering ram. The steel door bent, groaned, finally crashed inward with a deafening boom. Smoke billowed into the bedroom. Hassan was kneeling over a metal trash can, frantically feeding files into flames. She screamed at the agents as they tackled her to the ground. You don't understand. We were keeping order. We were protecting them. But the room testified against her. Satellite phones linked to traffickers in Djibouti and the Arabian Gulf sat on the desk. A corkboard on the wall displayed photos of children, each one labeled with age, nationality, and a dollar amount. Market value. She hadn't been protecting anyone. She had been cataloging inventory. If you believe corruption should never wear a robe, comment justice below. As both judges were dragged down the main staircase in handcuffs, they walked past the open basement door. Stretchers carried children into fresh air. Medical teams wrapped them in blankets. For the first time, the judges looked into the eyes of their victim, not from a high bench, but from the level of criminals in custody. Hassan looked away. Ali stared straight ahead, expressionless. The arrest of the judges was the kill shot, but the network was still alive. Intel seized from Ali's laptop revealed that the operation was massive. Safe houses across Miami, port contacts, cartel connections in Mexico and Somalia. Federal command couldn't wait. If word leaked, accomplices would vanish. At 5:14 a.m., the order went out to all units across South Florida. Operation Clean Wave was live. This was the largest coordinated immigration and gang sweep in modern Florida history. 17 locations hit simultaneously. Every address had been protected by judicial dismissals for years. Now the shields were gone. In Little Mogadishu, ICE teams breached a warehouse disguised as a seafood import business. They didn't find fish. They found shipping manifests matching the encrypted files from the mansion. Narcotics were moving from Mogadishu to Veracruz, then directly into Miami. The judges had signed off on every customs waiver, every inspection bypass, every regulatory exception. At the port of Miami, customs officers intercepted outbound containers. Smugglers tried to bribe them with gold bars and cash, screaming, "Call Judge Hassan, she'll fix this." They were tackled on the docks. Hassan was already in a federal holding cell. By mid-morning, the numbers were historic. Agents had seized 6 warehouses, intercepted 12 outbound shipments, frozen $47 million in assets across 14 bank accounts, and arrested 427 individuals. These weren't street dealers. They were gang lieutenants, human smugglers, document forgers, port officials, customs inspectors, even 2 assistant prosecutors who had buried evidence for years. The network that strangled South Florida for 6 years collapsed in 6 hours. Share this video so more people understand how deep corruption can go. As the sun rose over North Miami, the mansion was no longer a home. It was the largest crime scene in state history. White stone walls scarred by bullets. Lawn covered in evidence markers. Forensic teams photographing every room. News leaked fast. Images of the underground bunker flooded social media. The public reaction was explosive. Crowds gathered outside the federal courthouse, silent at first, then erupting into applause as the convoy carrying the judges arrived. For the Somali community in Miami, the raid was complex. They had trusted these judges, looked up to them as symbols of immigrant success. The betrayal cut deep. But as the truth emerged, the fear that had silenced neighborhoods for years finally broke. Community leaders spoke openly for the first time. Witnesses came forward. Tips flooded federal hotline. "We trusted the courts," one resident told reporters, tears streaming. "They betrayed us. But today, the system fought back." The ripple effects will be felt for years. The Department of Justice authorized emergency audits of every ruling handed down by Hassan and Ali over 6 years. Thousands of cases will be reviewed. Convictions may be overturned, dismissals may be retried. The legal mess is massive, but it's necessary work to restore faith in the system. By evening, Operation Clean Wave had shifted from tactical raid to mass mobilization. ICE coordinated chartered flights immediately. The parallel government Hassan and Ali built relied on hundreds of enforcers living in the U.S. illegally under judicial protection. With that protection gone, removal proceedings were swift. For the first time in a decade, the streets of Little Mogadishu felt different. Not the silence of fear, the silence of weight being. If you want to see more corruption exposed, hit subscribe now so you don't miss what happens next. Inside a stark federal interrogation room downtown, reality finally set in. Judge Amina Hassan and Judge Ahmed Ali sat in separate cells, stripped of their robes, their jewelry, their arrogance. They had spent careers dictating fate from a high bench. Now they sat on metal chairs bolted to the floor, waiting for a prosecutor to walk in. They were no longer "Your Honor." They were defendants 1 and 2 on a federal indictment. The charges were staggering: conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, human trafficking, racketeering, money laundering, obstruction of justice, crimes against children. If convicted on all counts, they faced life without parole. Outside the courthouse, the atmosphere was electric. The vigil for the victims grew. Candles, photos, flowers. Community leaders who had been silenced for years finally spoke. "The fear is gone," one activist said. "We can breathe again." When the federal convoy arrived for processing, the crowd didn't riot. They witnessed. They held signs. They chanted the names of missing children who might finally get justice. This wasn't celebration. It was collective catharsis. The Department of Justice held a press conference at 3 p.m. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida stood at the podium, flanked by FBI and ICE Director. The numbers were read aloud. 427 arrests, 2,100 pounds of narcotics, $47 million in assets seized, 60 children rescued, 17 locations secured. But the most powerful number was simpler: 2 judges, 6 years, 1 ton of drugs, 0 immunity. This operation proves a fundamental truth, the U.S. Attorney said. No position of power is a permanent shield. No title grants immunity from justice. Today, the rule of law held. The press erupted questions. How long had the investigation lasted? How did the judges evade detection? Were there more officials involved? The answers were careful, measured, but the message was clear. This was just the beginning. Comment your reaction below if you believe no authority should outrank accountability. For the federal agents who breached that mansion at 4:52 a.m., the victory wasn't in the drug seizure. It wasn't in the arrest numbers. It wasn't in the asset forfeiture. It was in the faces of the children now safe in protective custody. They had faced mercenaries, corruption, institutional betrayal, automatic weapons fire, and they held the line because that's what the oath demands. The children rescued from the basement were taken to a secure medical facility. Pediatricians, trauma counselors, child advocates, each one received a full evaluation. Many were severely malnourished. Some had injuries consistent with prolonged abuse. But they were alive, they were safe, and they would get the care they needed. Federal investigators began the painstaking work of identifying each child. Some had been missing for years. Others were taken from family court proceedings that Hassan herself had presided over. In one case, a mother had reported her daughter missing after a custody hearing in 2021. The case was closed within a week, ruled a parental abduction. No investigation. That child was in the basement. When the mother was notified, she collapsed. Then she wept. Then she demanded to see the judge who had stolen her daughter. That meeting will never happen. Hassan is in solitary confinement pending trial. The systemic damage will take years to repair. Trust in the judiciary has been shaken. Every ruling from Hassan and Ali is now suspect. Defense attorneys are filing motions to reopen cases by the hundreds. The courts are overwhelmed, but the work must be done because justice isn't automatic. It must be fought for every single day. If this story changed how you see power, hit like to help the algorithm push the truth. The investigation into Hassan and Ali's network didn't end with the raid. It expanded. Federal analysts combed through the seized laptops, satellite phones, and encrypted servers. What they found was even worse than expected. The judges had connections to 3 international cartels: the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico, Al-Shabaab-linked traffickers in Somalia, Gulf state financiers laundering money through Dubai. They weren't just local corrupt officials, they were transnational crime facilitators. Bank records showed wire transfers totaling $81.3 million over 6 years. Payments came from shell companies in the Cayman Islands, Panama, and the British Virgin Islands. The money was laundered through real estate purchases, luxury car dealerships, and cryptocurrency exchanges. Hassan owned properties in 7 states. Ali had offshore accounts in 4 countries. Together, they controlled assets worth an estimated $120 million. All of it is now frozen, subject to civil forfeiture, destined to fund victim restitution and law enforcement operations. The judges lived like royalty, while children suffered in their basement. That ends now. The international dimension of the case triggered a multi-country investigation. Interpol issued red notices. The DEA coordinated with Mexican authorities. The FBI liaised with Somali intelligence services. Arrests were made in Tijuana, Mogadishu, Dubai, London. The network was global. The takedown had to be too. In Mexico, cartel operatives linked to the judges were captured in a raid on a Sinaloa compound. They had been coordinating drug shipments through Miami with Hassan's approval for 3 years. In Somalia, Al-Shabaab financiers were detained. They had been funneling money through Hassan's shell companies to fund terror operations in East Africa. The judges weren't just criminals, they were national security threats. If you believe justice matters, comment justice and share this so more people know the truth. Back in Miami, community healing began slowly. Churches held vigils. Mosques opened their doors for counseling. Schools brought in trauma specialists. The Somali American community faced a painful reckoning. Hassan and Ali had been heroes, role models, proof that immigrants could rise to the highest levels of society. Now they were symbols of betrayal. Community leaders worked hard to separate the actions of 2 corrupt individuals from the dignity of an entire community. "This is not who we are," one imam said at a packed town hall. "This is who they were, and we will not let their crimes define us." The message resonated. Slowly, trust began to rebuild, not in the judges, but in the idea that justice could still prevail. Federal authorities praised the community's cooperation. Tips from residents had been crucial to building the case. Witnesses who feared retaliation for years finally came forward. This couldn't have happened without the community's courage, the FBI special agent in charge said. They lived under this threat. They broke the silence. They made this possible. For the 60 children rescued from the basement, the road ahead is long. Many will need years of therapy. Some may never fully recover from the trauma, but they have a chance, a future, a life beyond that concrete room. And that's everything. The trial is set to begin in 8 months. Federal prosecutors are seeking life without parole for both judges. The evidence is overwhelming. The charges are ironclad, but the legal battle will be fierce. Hassan and Ali hired the most expensive defense attorneys money can buy. They will fight every charge, challenge every piece of evidence, delay every proceeding. It doesn't matter. The case is airtight. Ledgers showing payments, bank records proving transfers, emails with explicit instructions, satellite phone logs linking them to cartel leaders, and the testimony of 60 children who will never forget that basement. The judges built an empire on corruption. They thought they were untouchable. They believed their position protected them. They were wrong. Hit subscribe so you don't miss updates on this case and more stories the media won't tell you. This operation revealed a harsh truth about American institutions. Corruption can hide anywhere, even in a courtroom, even behind a gavel. But it also revealed something else. When good agents refuse to look away, when prosecutors build cases brick by brick, when communities find the courage to speak, justice can win. It's not guaranteed. It's not easy. It requires people willing to kick down doors at 4:52 a.m., people willing to face gunfire, people willing to dig through 6 years of lies. But it's possible. Hassan and Ali thought they had built something permanent, a system where they controlled the law, where their word was final. They controlled it for 6 years. That's 290 days, 52,560 hours, over 3 million minutes. It took federal agents less than 6 hours to bring it all down. That's the power of truth. That's the weight of justice. The mansion in Bay Point Estates stands empty now. Crime scene tape still flutters in the breeze. The iron gates remain twisted and broken. It's a monument to a simple fact. No one is above the law. Not judges, not officials, not anyone. The moment you believe your power makes you untouchable, you've already lost. Hassan and Ali learned that at 4:52 a.m. when the battering ram hit their gate. They're learning it again every day in their cells, and they'll keep learning it for the rest of their lives. If you believe no authority should ever outrank accountability, comment accountability below. This story isn't over. Federal investigators are still following leads. More arrests are expected. The network had tentacles reaching into other cities, other states, other countries. Operation Clean Wave was the beginning, not the end. There are more corrupt officials out there, more networks operating in the shadows, more victims waiting for rescue. But now, those networks know something. The system can fight back. The badges can win. The law still has teeth. That fear will spread, and it should. To every official who thinks their position protects them, to every criminal who believes money buys immunity, to every trafficker who thinks children are commodities. You're not safe. You're not untouchable. You're not beyond reach. Somewhere, right now, federal agents are building a case, following the money, tracking the shipments, identifying the victims, and when they have everything they need, they'll come at 4:52 a.m. No warning, no mercy, no escape. That's the lesson of North Miami. That's the promise of Operation Clean Wave. Justice is not automatic. It must be fought for. But when good people fight, when institutions hold, when communities refuse to stay silent, it can still win. Share this video before it gets buried. The truth needs to spread. Hit like if you believe justice is worth fighting for, no matter how powerful the corrupt have become. Comment exposed. If you want more investigations like this brought into the light, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because this fight is far from over. The mansion is empty, the judges are in cells, the children are safe, but the battle for accountability never ends. It continues every single day in courtrooms, in communities, in the choices we make about what we're willing to tolerate. Hassan and Ali thought they could weaponize the law. They were wrong. The law weaponized itself, and it struck back with overwhelming force. That's the America we fight for. That's the justice system we defend. Not perfect, not flawless, but capable of holding even the powerful accountable when good people refuse to look away. This is only the beginning. Stay vigilant, stay informed, stay ready, because the next raid is already being planned. The next network is already being watched. And when the order comes, justice will move at 4:52 a.m. Silent, swift, unstoppable.